All right, guys, we should be live right now. Are we up? Yeah, okay. So this is Natasha Kirchuk with ILTV. Right now I'm in Tel Aviv, the Tel Aviv studios, ILTV's Tel Aviv studios. And we're going to give you the latest update on everything that's happening in Israel surrounding the coronavirus pandemic. Okay, so I'm going to wait a couple of minutes for people to start joining our conversation here. And if you have any questions, please make sure to ask them below. We will try to answer them to the best of our ability. And again, I'm Natasha Kirchuk with ILTV. If you want any information in English about what is happening in the state of Israel surrounding the coronavirus pandemic, tune into www.iltv.tv, where we have our daily news shows and our daily updates. And that's how you can stay informed in English in Israel if you're having trouble keeping up with all that Hebrew language news. All right, guys, we see. I'm going to try to find the live myself so I can see the questions from here. All right. Okay, I'm going to wait a little bit longer for people to join us. Come on in. We're going to be giving the latest updates about what is happening surrounding the coronavirus pandemic in the state of Israel in English for you. And any questions you have, feel free to ask them below. We will try to get to them as the live goes on. Wait a couple more minutes for people to join in. They say that there's a problem with the sound, Tom. Let me check that out. All right, we're going to wait a couple more minutes for people to keep on joining in. And again, this is Natasha Kirchuk with ILTV. We're here to kind of give you the latest breakdown of all the news surrounding the coronavirus pandemic in the state of Israel and all the latest regulations that have come out. So bear with us. We're waiting for some more people to join so we can answer all of your questions and give you the update. Okay, guys, I'm going to give it a couple more minutes. You guys tell me when the numbers are high enough for us to begin. Again, this is Natasha Kirchuk with ILTV, one of the premier English language news sources out of the state of Israel. Go to www.iltv.tv for more news in English about the coronavirus pandemic in the state of Israel and what regulations have just been announced. Okay, good. It seems like people can start hearing us, so I'm going to begin. And of course, the first question, as per usual, is how many people in Israel have been diagnosed with the coronavirus? And the answer is, right now, we're looking at 529 people. That's 529 people in the state of Israel who have been diagnosed with the coronavirus. And 6 of those patients are seriously ill. They are all elderly, and they had existing medical conditions before contracting the disease. So you want to keep that in mind. And 2 of them right now are in very, very bad shape. They are unconscious and hooked up to respirators. But as of now, no coronavirus patient in Israel has passed away, so we're hoping that is not going to change. Now, 498 patients are only exhibiting light symptoms, so that's a vast majority. 13 Israelis are in moderate condition, and 12 have recovered, so that's good news. There are also 86 who are receiving care at home, but 279 who are currently hospitalized. And there are 36 Israelis who, this is actually very interesting for those of you who might not know, they're being treated in Israel's coronavirus hotels. So basically in Tel Aviv and Jerusalem, they've opened up some hotels, or they're using their facilities temporarily as spaces for patients to recover, because we're trying not to overwhelm the hospital system here. Okay? All right, so the latest news coming out of Israel today, I'm going to give you guys the headlines, and then of course we're going to try to answer some questions. Starting on Sunday, East Jerusalem and West Jerusalem are going to be blocked off from one another. What does that mean? It basically means that people are not going to be allowed to move between both sides of the city, and this is all in the latest effort to, slow down the spread of the coronavirus. So I'll repeat that again for people who are just joining us. East Jerusalem and West Jerusalem, starting on Sunday, are going to be blocked off from one another to prevent people from moving back and forth between each part of the city. And again, this is to slow down the spread of the disease. On Monday, there are also going to be changes to public transportation. Basically, what the government has said is that there's going to be less public transportation available to the public, but they haven't yet detailed what that means, how it's going to look. As of now, public transportation lines are running as per usual, except for after 8 o'clock. After 8 p.m., buses and trains are no longer functioning. And of course, you are advised, if you go into the bus, to stay far away from the driver. You're not allowed to sit in the front row of the seats, and you are not allowed to stand. Okay. And also, actually, you guys might have noticed about half an hour ago, if you're wondering why you saw a lot of people going out onto their balconies across the state of Israel and clapping, which is what they were doing, and celebrating, it was actually as part of a celebration of Israel's healthcare system. So people went out onto their balconies at 6 p.m. across Israel in all corners of the country to basically say thank you to all of the brave healthcare professionals who are putting their own lives on the line to help people stay safe and healthy. So that's why you saw people clapping like crazy at 6 o'clock, and this was all over Israeli news. It was a really, really beautiful show to see. All right, now I'm going to talk a little bit about testing. Yesterday there were 2,200 coronavirus tests that were administered. The Israeli government is hoping to bring that number up to 3,000 tests a day, and then eventually up to 5,000 tests a day. And last night, the Israeli Mossad, so our intelligence agency here in Israel, brought in an estimated 100,000 coronavirus tests to the state of Israel, and there are plans to bring more. In fact, the intelligence agency has apparently located roughly 4 million coronavirus tests in several unidentified countries, and those are going to be brought into Israel down the line. And again, something else that is new is that the defense ministry is going to be taking over for the health ministry when it comes to securing all that kind of medical equipment that the state of Israel needs in the coming weeks as we combat the coronavirus. What is happening with unemployment in Israel? That's something that people have been asking. Yesterday alone, 95,000 Israelis filed for unemployment benefits, and that now brings that total number up to 220 or more than 225,000 people who applied for unemployment benefits since the beginning of March. So as of now, we have 225,000 Israelis who have applied for unemployment benefits. It's very scary for a lot of people here, but again, we're hoping that as long as we spread this love, this disease, everything will eventually go back to normal. Now, a lot of people have been asking, is Israel going to carry out a total lockdown in the state of Israel? And also, what is a total lockdown? So basically, the Israeli government, the Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu has made it very, very clear that all Israelis are strongly advised not to leave their homes unless it's for essential services. So that would be going to buy food, going to buy medicine, going to receive medical care, or going to work if they are allowed to do that and still have a job. And so, the idea is that people are not supposed to be taking this time working from home or being on paid or unpaid leave as vacation. They're supposed to stay in their homes, socially distance themselves from everybody around them to slow down the spread of this disease. And right now, this is not mandatory, okay? The Israeli government has not made this legally mandatory for people to stay in their homes at all times like this, but they're saying that if people don't abide by the existing regulations and requests, then yes, Israel's going to go into total lockdown, which would mean that the police would now enforce these rules. So they would be out on the street patrolling, which they already are doing, but to a much bigger extent, ensuring that people wouldn't be going out on the street for no reason, basically. Okay, so also another interesting thing that came out today, the foreign ministry is calling on all Israelis abroad to book flights home immediately. So the foreign ministry is calling on all Israelis abroad to immediately book flights home. Why are they doing that? Well, some say that they're essentially hinting that Israel may close its borders entirely. And today, El Al actually flew a plane over to Peru where they picked up about 1,000 young Israelis, many young Israelis who were in the country after the army, traveling, having fun. The Israeli government actually went to pick them up with a plane, with El Al, and bring them home for free. But the Israeli government is trying to say, basically, you shouldn't expect Israel to continue to provide free charter flights for anybody, for any Israeli that's abroad. You need to start booking flights home if you haven't already, because if a decision is made to halt all air traffic, there's going to be a big issue. And as of yesterday, in case you guys don't remember, we talked about this yesterday, but Israel completely closed its borders to foreigners in a bid to contain the spread of the coronavirus. And until now, Israel has been allowing foreigners into the state of Israel as long as they can prove that they have a place to stay for at least 14 days to quarantine themselves. But now, beginning yesterday, the entrance of foreigners is not going to be allowed into Israel, even if they can prove that they have a place to quarantine themselves. So keep that in mind if you had any friends or family who are planning to come to Israel and are not Israeli citizens. But again, as of now, Israeli citizens and residents will still be able to enter the country. But again, it seems like the government is hinting that the borders could end up being closed very soon completely to everybody. Okay, guys, are there any questions that are coming out right now? I'm going to take a look at the questions in front of me. Let's see. Okay, if you have questions, again, remember to write them or comment below, and I'm going to try to answer them to the best of my ability. And again, remember, guys, go to www.iltv.tv if you have any more questions and if you want to see any more English language content about what is happening surrounding the coronavirus pandemic in the state of Israel. And Tom? Sheilot. Okay, he's going to be coming. All right, so in the meantime, until we get to the questions, as many of you know, Israel has drastically increased its measures to stem the spread of the coronavirus. All Israelis, like I said before, have been ordered to stay home and not leave unless they have to get essential things like food or groceries or medicine, or they need to get medical services, okay? And the Israeli Health Ministry now has administered over 11,000 tests since this outbreak began, but they're hoping to increase that amount. Like I said before, 2,200 tests were carried out yesterday. We don't have the numbers on how many tests were carried out today, but Israel's working on setting up a drive-through testing zone.
We have one question about Olim Chadashim. Do we have any relevant info? Is there something particular, unique that we need?
Okay, so there's a question about Olim Chadashim, and if there's that's new immigrants, and if there's any new information that they need to know about. The first thing that I will say is that Israel is continuing actually to allow the immigration of new immigrants into the country. The borders have not fully been closed yet, and I believe last week 24 new immigrants came in from the United States. So the Jewish Agency is continuing to allow the Aliyah process to happen, but just on a smaller, more limited scale. And in terms of anything that the Olim community needs to know, there isn't anything specific. I mean, everything that's happening kind of applies to everybody, but again, if you're looking for more information in English, I really suggest going to ILTV's website, www.iltv.tv, for the latest news in English. Is there any other question that you wanted to ask there? Okay. Okay, here, this is an interesting question. My question is refugees in Israel working and work has stopped? How do we eat and pay our rent since we didn't plan for this emergency? All right, guys, this is so a lot of foreign workers have been asking us what is our status here, because obviously the Israeli government has been providing financial assistance to Israelis who are out of work. Right now, there hasn't been any official government announcement about the status of foreign workers in the state of Israel and whether or not they're going to receive any government assistance. And I wish that I could answer that for you, but we just don't have any information about that yet. When we do, that will be the first thing that we're covering, because we know how important it is to so many foreign workers here who are doing essential things like taking care of our elderly. And so we thank you for that, but unfortunately we just don't have any information as to what the government is doing to help that community. Okay. Okay, can two dog owners walk their dogs together provided they keep a distance of 2 meters between them? So yeah, as of now, Israelis are allowed to leave their houses to walk their dogs. And again, the idea is that you stay 2 meters away from any person who's next to you, so that's about 6.5 feet. So in that specific situation, I imagine that would be okay as long as you stayed 6.5 feet or 2 meters away from the other person. But that is, again, what the Israeli government has been advocating for in terms of social distancing, really just not to leave your house at all, and that if you do interact with other people, to stay at least 2 meters away from them. Now, let's talk about Israel's police force and what they're doing right now. They're actually scaling up their efforts to make sure that Israelis abide by the rules and the new regulations coming out about social distancing. And police say they begin to enforce 3 new emergency decrees. We mentioned these yesterday, but I'm going to mention them again. So the police are going to be enforcing self-isolation orders and making sure that people are staying at home. They're also going to be enforcing the requirement to register with the health ministry after you've returned to Israel from abroad. So again, if you're coming into Israel, if you just returned home from another country, you have to register with the health ministry. If you don't do that, you could get a fine of up to $780. And they're also going to be enforcing stopping public gatherings. So people have some questions about, will I go to jail? What kind of fine will I get if I break any of these new regulations? We can actually give you those answers. Okay, so if you violate your home quarantine, it can carry a maximum of up to 6 months in prison and a $1,300 fine. And like we said yesterday, for the first time ever, police filed charges against a person for breaking quarantine. He went out 3 times outside of his house when he wasn't supposed to, and he is apparently being staying behind bars without bail right now. Okay, and now if you fail to if you fail to register with the health ministry once you come back into Israel from abroad, you could face a fine of up to $780, and you could also face a fine of up to $780 if you take part in an event that has 5 or more people. Okay, a gathering of 5 or 10 or more people, and refuse to break it up. All right, I'm going to look at questions.
We have 2 questions.
Okay.
One is they're asking if there will be taxi tomorrow and on Saturday. And the other one want to know a little bit more about the kits that the Mossad brought to Israel. Can you tell?
About the kits that the Mossad brought to Israel? Okay, so in terms of taxis, as of now there have been no regulations surrounding taxis, but the government has advised that if you're going to be traveling in a car, that there should not be more than 2 people in that car, because again you have to enforce that distance of 2 meters or 6.5 feet between 2 people. So the idea is that there will not be more than 2 people in a car, but they haven't canceled the use of taxis so far. When it comes to public transportation, however, public transportation is now no longer working after 8 p.m. every day of the week, and it's not working at all on Fridays or Saturdays. What was the other question?
The other question was, can you tell us about the kit that the testing kits that the Mossad brought to Israel last night?
So last night the Israeli Mossad brought in over 100,000 test kits for the coronavirus, and they are planning on bringing in about 4 million altogether. We don't know when that's going to be happening exactly, but they've identified up to 4 million kits in several unidentified countries.
Okay, we have another question. Do you have any idea how long the lockdown in Israel will last? Weeks, months, even more?
So there are estimates that this is going to last for up to a year in the state of Israel, but it could be months. Again, these are estimates, so it's hard to kind of give any right answer right now to that.
There's another question. Can you please tell us
to possibly quarantine specific areas of the country? Right now that hasn't happened in Tel Aviv or in Haifa, like in this specific question, but in Jerusalem, as of today, they just announced that starting on Sunday, East Jerusalem and West Jerusalem are going to be closed to one another. So they're going to be blocking entry between those 2 parts of the city so that people can't pass through, and that's an effort to curb the spread of the disease.
Another question is, will food production will stop?
No, food production, so the question was, is food production going to stop? As of now, no food production is going to stop, and the Israeli government has been really adamant in reminding everybody that supermarkets and pharmacies are staying open. They're not going to be closing anytime soon, so you don't need to be rushing there. and buying everything up. Remember, we need to be supporting each other and making sure that everybody has access to food. And again, Israel is able to self-sustain with all the agricultural resources that we have. Is everything okay? All right. All right, it looks like, yeah, any other questions? Okay. All right, guys, it looks like we're going to be wrapping this up. I will answer one last question about the vaccine. So as many of you know, Israel has been working on developing a vaccine against the coronavirus. And while there were very hopeful reports that it would be coming out soon enough, the vaccine in question still has to go through clinical testing, and then it has to be approved by the Israeli government, and that process could take months to up to a year. So as of now, there's no new news on the vaccine that's coming out. But again, everybody, thank you so much for joining us for this live update. And again, we will be back online in the coming days, here to answer any questions you might have in English about the coronavirus pandemic in the state of Israel. I'm Natasha Kirchuk. This is ILTV, and thanks for joining us.